the quilt top behind me on the wall. The Euphoria helped piece that quilt top as well. So let me swap my camera over. There it is. Let me back it up a little bit. Get a better view. Woohoo! There we go. So it has the wide throat space, just like the Triumph and the Ovation has. It does have air threading for the looper. It just has one looper, just the chain looper for the chain and cover stitches. And the difference between chain and cover stitches is this. A chain stitch, if you have a pair of blue jeans and you look at the seams on it, the straight line stitching, that was more than likely done either on an industrial sewing machine or on a cover stitch machine, because that chain stitch actually on the underside of the fabric forms a chain and a straight stitch on top. It's an extremely strong seam. It is stronger than just a regular straight stitch on a sewing machine. Another reason I really like to piece with this as well. Like I said, right here, this is where the threading port is. It'll actually stick your thread in the little hole up here. You press this button, and the air blows the thread through the machine and threads all the underneath part of that machine. The needle, I just have one needle in for what I'm going to demo tonight, but you can put up to 3 needles in it, and they're called C1, C2, C3. This is the needle threading mechanism. See where my finger's touching this? So I have it on C1 because I have my needle in the C1 or the leftmost position. If I wanted to thread it, let's just thread it. I'm going to pull this out, my thread out. I'm going to lower the mechanism. Oops, had to put it in threading position first. There we go. Lower that mechanism. Now look, get this a close look so you can see what that looks like. When I lowered this lever, see there's C1, C2, C3, and now to thread it, check it out, I just have to put my end of my thread and lay it right through here like this and lift up on the lever, and my needle is threaded. Super duper easy to do. Not as easy as the Triumph with its air threading, but nevertheless easy peasy to do. There we go. I got a knot around it. I made a knot. There we go. Let's just try that again. I'm going to get this up a little bit closer this time. There we go. I'm going to lower the threading mechanism. There's a little metal guide right there to put your thread through. Raise it slowly. Unhook it. And just pull your thread right on through, and it's fully threaded. How easy is that? Of course, there is a built-in thread cutter right over here, right there. And that's all there is to it. Now, this dial here, it says auto on it. That is just like adjusting the tension in the needle thread, because it's also a way to balance the thread. So if the thread's too loose when it stitches, you can raise it. If it's too tight, you can lower it, so forth and so on. This dial right here adjusts the tension on the looper thread, and normally it stays at 3. All I have loaded is regular serger thread. If I was going to put a heavyweight thread for decorative effects through that looper, I would turn this knob here to 0 so it has 0 tension on it. Now it's all ready to sew, and what I'm going to do tonight, oops, you see this lever right here? There's the letter N, that means neutral. So to get just a perfect straight stitch, you'd want that on neutral. And what this lever does, this is called the differential feed. Another reason I like to piece on a serger is this. If I take that foot off, I'm going to bring this over and look at this. This thing has both front and rear feed dogs. And what that means is that differential lever I just showed you, you can adjust how those it has two separate feed dogs. In neutral, they both work together. But if I turn it up, this one is going to pull faster, and that will cause gathering or ruffling. If I turn this one, if I turn it the other way and lower the neutral number, this one will feed a little bit faster. If you're ever sewing a knit and the seam won't lie perfectly flat, all you do is lower that differential to a smaller number, and it will cause that puckeriness or that waviness in a knit seam to lay nice and flat. You can't do that with a sewing machine. It doesn't have dual feed dogs on it like this does. But what that means for a quilter, you have total control over the fabric feed going through the machine to get that perfect result for piecing, regardless of what type of fabric you are piecing with. Now then, I have a couple of strips of fabric here. Okay, and what we're going to do, we're going to ruffle this. Okay, so what I'm going to do, and I want that chain stitch to show, so I'm going to put my fabric face down, and I'm going to run this right down the center of this strip. Check it out. Okay, that's the back of it. But in order to ruffle, all I have to do is turn this lever all the way up to 2.0. Okay, that means the rear feed dogs are going to pull the fabric through twice as fast as what the front feed dogs are pushing it through, hence the gathering effect. Let me get my foot pedal over here where I can reach it. And now we're just going to go. I will answer all questions once I get this demo over with. So here we go. Oh, and I want my stitch length, the length of the stitches, as long as they will go. I just turned it up to 4. Here we go. And I'm not pulling back on the fabric. I'm just letting the machine pull it through. And I'm just guiding it. Now this is just a regular presser feet, the standard one that comes with the Euphoria. We're going to try a different foot after this, and then we're going to compare them. Okay. And yes, you can chain off on this serger, this cover stitch machine. Now then, has a nice effect to it. Check it out. It definitely has, it ruffled it. And this is more, to me, this is using just the regular foot here. This is more like gathering than it is true ruffles. But check it out. You can see how it added texture. I'm going to show you something really fun to do with this after I change the feet and we do another one. Okay, you can see if I hold it up like this, you can see how roughly it made those edges. Next, I'm going to put on an actual gathering foot. Okay, the number on it is BLG for gathering, BLG. And if you look on the back of it, it has this little ridge, and that will move back and forth as the machine feeds. So the only thing, I'm going to check. I was trying to hold in a sneeze. It's time for some more Flonase. But what I'm going to do, and I just broke my thread. Oh well, it's easy to thread, so let's get this rethreaded. What I'm doing, I'm changing from the standard Euphoria foot to the gathering foot, the BLG as in gathering. I'm going to go ahead and put that down there. There we go. Now I'm going to raise it and I'm going to rethread it. Foot's raised. Here we go. Okay. Turn that lever up. down. It's in threading position. And now we'll just put this over there. And I broke my thread. That was me. There we go. So the thread I'm using, this is serger thread. It's made by Madeira. It's called Arrow Lock. And it comes in about 48 different colors. And it's really great, strong serger thread. The other thread that I use is Maxi Lock. This Madeira thread is on 2,000 yard cones, where the Maxi Lock is 3,000 yard cones. And guess what that means, everybody? One of those cones, like on this machine, one cone going through that looper, that's my bobbin thread. If I put a cone of Maxi Lock on there, it's a 3,000 yard bobbin, which would equate to over approximately 30 bobbins on a sewing machine. Think about that one for a minute. It's one of the reasons I truly love to piece on my serger. Now, those of you that have followed me for a while, you know I did a serge-a-thon on my YouTube channel last year, and I pieced 8 quilt tops in under 16 hours on that video. Okay, we're all threaded, we're ready to go. We're going to use the serger gathering foot. This will also fit the Triumph machine, everybody. So here's the thing, if you have an 8-thread serger from Baby Lock, those feet for the cover stitch side of the machine will work on the Euphoria as well. So the feet are interchangeable if it's an 8-thread serger. Okay, so same size strip. And now we're going to do the exact same thing I just did, but we're going to use a different foot and compare the results. Okay. And I'm going to put my wrong side down because, you know, you can put metallic through that looper and you'd have a real pretty metallic gathering thread on the front of your fabric if you wanted to. Here we go. And yes, it did actually ruffle it more, gather it more than just the regular foot. So there's the one with the gathering foot. Here is the one with just the regular Euphoria foot. Now on camera, they look they look almost the same. However, in person, that gathering foot there's a definite difference in the amount of fullness of the gathers. And you might wonder, well, what if I don't want to make ruffles? Well, if you make garments, you can use this foot, this gathering function with having the neutral all the way up. What you get, it's a way to set in a sleeve on a garment is by gathering the curve that goes across the top of the shoulder. But you know what? You can also, I'm going to show you what this would look like. Who remembers what smocking looks like? So smocking is a series of gathering stitches that go side by side, and it just adds some really cool texture to a piece of fabric. Check it out. Now I'm going to keep the edge of the foot about a 1/4 inch away from my previous line of stitching. That's going to be my guide. But you'll see, once this gets going, how that would look. I'm going to do a couple of runs on this so you get a really good idea of what I'm talking about. But you could also texturize fabric to then cut up for a variety of craft projects or even quilting. That would be a great way too. And there's what the two different stitches look like. This time I did not put it upside down. See that? So over here, this is the chain stitch. And over here, that's the upper, this is the looper thread. This one is just your upper thread that goes through the needle, and it looks just like a regular straight stitch on your sewing machine. So we're going to do another one. Now, y'all, I will tell you this, I really like this Euphoria a lot. I've had a lot of machines, and I can tell you, this machine is a workhorse. It really and truly is. They all are, but this one is so smooth. And there's all kinds of fun attachments for it. You can do pin tucks, you can do blind hems, you can do, oh my goodness, you can attach, you can make belt loops and all different kinds of binding loops. You can use the binding, the serger binding attachments on it that Baby Lock makes. And now check it out. As I'm going out from the center, see how it's stabilizing all of these little pleats and everything? I know that kind of looks messy. I'm not taking my time. I didn't mark anything, but you kind of get the idea of what that would look like. And then, of course, if I was really making this for something, I would have done an edge finish all along the edges before I started this, just because it would be easier to do at that point. Let's get a couple more in there so we can really give this a, see what this would truly look like. One more, then we'll call it done for this purpose anyway. And now this is, look how short it is now that it's got a lot of the smocking, what I call smocking in there. There's the back of it. There's the front of it. Check out that texture. Get a close look at this. Let's see a good place to show you where it looks the best. And right there is a good example of it. But the camera really doesn't do the color of this justice as far as that goes. And I'm just using plain old black thread so we can actually see what that looks like. There we go. Okay. And this machine also comes with a knee lift. So if you're manipulating a lot of fabric underneath that machine, check it out, just like the Triumph and the Ovation, it has this wonderful knee lift that you can use to raise and lower that presser foot with. You know, and it opens up just like the Triumph does. You open up this side door right here so you can clean over here. But when you're threading that looper thread into the chain looper, it ends up right here in this little metal box. And when you see the thread come into this little metal box, you know that that looper thread is fully threaded and ready to go. And to either thread the needles or that looper, all you do is turn that, just like on the Triumph and Ovation, turn that lever over, rotate the hand wheel towards you till you hear a click, and then the air tubes are connected. And you just stick your thread in the little threading port. Check it out. Right here, your thread goes down, and they're about 1/2 inch. Press that button and listen to the air compressor come on, and that's all it takes is to thread that. That's all there is to it. Super easy to do. It is so easy to do 1/4 inch seams on this. For instance, there's an actual fabric. If you see the holes on this, right here, there's an attachment that will fit here, and it's like a ruler with an edge guide to it that sticks up like this. And you can adjust that for 1/4 inch from the needle all the way out to 4 inches away from it. And that is actually the tool that I use when I'm doing a 1/4 inch seam on this particular machine. It is called the fabric guide.